What is your biggest TIFU moment? TIFU by telling my wife how hot she looked in a shirt. This happened not even a half hour ago. We are going out for my mother-in-law's birthday this evening, and my wife came out and asked if the shirt she was wearing looked okay on her. It wasn't anything special, but she looked damn good in it. Really good, and I told her so. It fit great and was just the perfect amount of tight in the right places. I joked about looking forward to getting it off of her later, making the lame dad joke that the only way the shirt would look better is if it was on our bedroom floor. She laughed and said I was going to regret saying that. Turns out my mom gave it to her. It wasn't new, my mom had it for a while but hadn't worn it for years. When we visited her over Thanksgiving weekend, my mom and my wife went through her closet to see what she might want before donating the rest to a shelter. My wife started to tease me, asking if I thought it looked that hot when my mother wore it. Then our kids started piling on, going extra with it after being grossed out by my earlier comments. A few minutes later, my phone started blowing up. My wife took no time to share this with my mom and my sisters. Now I'm getting crap from every side, and I supply the ammunition. I have no doubt whatsoever that my wife will make sure to wear the shirt the next time we get together with my family. 2. TIFU by thinking it was normal to not be able to open your eyes in the morning for 25 years. Ever since I was a kid, it took me ages to get out of bed. The sunlight coming through the window seemed so bright, I couldn't even open my eyes past a squint. It took maybe 20 to 30 minutes of blinking, squinting, and sometimes fumbling around with my eyes closed before I was fully awake. My mother told me that it just took a while to get used to the light in the morning, and that it took a bit to fully wake up. I planned every morning around 20 minutes of blinking, squinting, and trying not to go back to sleep. I am 27 years old, so this has just been a fact of life for me. I set a second alarm about an hour before I have to actually get up, so I have plenty of time to wake up and possibly fall back asleep for a bit. I have a toddler now, and he sleeps terribly, so mornings have been rough for me. One morning, I took a picture of myself with my squinty lopsided eyes, because one side was able to open a bit more, to show a friend how exhausted I looked first thing in the morning. She asked me why my eyes were like that, and I told her I hadn't gotten used to the light. She was even more confused. I asked some friends and did some Googling. It was not normal. Most people just open their eyes in the morning. A friend suggested that maybe I slept with my eyes open, and while I wasn't sure about that, I noticed that my son did sleep with his eyes cracked, so it stood to reason that I did too. I bought nighttime eye gel and eye drops for the morning and used them for the first time last night today. Sure enough, I woke up with my eyes a bit sensitive and hard to open, less than usual, thanks to the gel. I reached for the drops, put them in, and opened my eyes immediately. It was like I had been up for an hour. The light didn't bother me. My eyes were wide open, and I felt wide awake. My entire life, I had thought it was normal, but I cured myself of a daily inconvenience by spending $20. Now I am trying to convince my mom to try the drops too, LMAO. 3. TIFU by telling a girl her skirt had great pockets. I was at a party talking to this girl I just met. She was wearing a really nice skirt, and I noticed what I thought was her hand in her pocket. I remembered my friends always complaining about women's clothes not having pockets, so I said something like, "Oh, that's awesome, your skirt has pockets. My friends are always complaining about that." She looked completely confused. She said her skirt doesn't have pockets. I doubled down like an idiot. I said I saw her hand in her pocket earlier. That's when her face went red, and she held up her left arm. Her hand is amputated below the elbow. What I thought was her hand in a pocket was just her arm resting against her side. I immediately apologized and wanted to die on the spot. Thankfully, she laughed and said that's a new one. We actually ended up talking the rest of the night and she was cool about it. But I'm still mortified. 4. TIFU by getting way too high on my birthday. So yesterday was my birthday, and I managed to ruin it in spectacular fashion. The plan was simple, really. Chill at home during the day, then go to a steakhouse with a bunch of people from my class. There were 10 of us. The only relevant person here is Elle, a girl I have a crush on who I was secretly hoping to impress, like the fool I am. Dinner was actually great. They brought me gifts, all really personal and thoughtful. I felt really appreciated. We ate like kings. I was feeling good and thought this was going to be a good night. Then came the damn weed. I had asked my friend to bring some because, for some reason, I thought taking a puff would make me look cool in front of everyone. Especially the 3 girls, including Elle. I told him I wanted to be chill. He told me to take 1 puff. Naturally, I took 3 massive hits like I was trying to prove something. That I'm a macho man. At first, nothing happened. We finished dinner and walked to a rooftop. About halfway there I started getting a bit high, but still manageable. By the time we got into the lobby though, Elle started asking me deep emotional questions, like what my happiest memory was, and leaned in so damn close to my face. My brain immediately exploded, and I was convinced she was going to kiss me. In reality, I just stood there buffering like an RDR2 NPC when you greet and then antagonize them. Anywho, we get to the rooftop, sit down, and suddenly everything hits me all at once. I know I'm about to throw up. I ask my friend A to get me a vomit bag, but he is too late. It begins. A tries to rush me toward the elevator, but I lose the battle right before we get in, and I throw up my birthday dinner right in front of the elevator. Luckily, not many people saw it since it's hidden in the back, but Elle definitely did though. She ran over and comforted me, got me water, and tried to help me out. Meanwhile, A helped me clean up whilst I was dying inside and she was being kind, which somehow made it worse. They got me into the elevator with a plastic bag, and I blessed that too. Then straight to the bathroom. A kept me company for a while before getting back up. I ended up puking for what felt like 15 minutes but ended up being 2 hours. Eventually, the rooftop closed, and I shuffled back to the table to apologize and crack jokes, but felt like a jester with a bruised ego. The group wanted to go to a bar after. I had to take a break halfway there because my body was powered exclusively by regret, and I was getting nauseous whilst we were walking again. At the bar, I drank sparkling water with lemon, like someone twice my age, instead of a mojito like a birthday boy should. Everyone kept saying it was fine, but I am convinced they were silently horrified. Especially L. Nothing kills romance quite like watching someone eject their entire soul in dinner. 5. TIFU by moisturizing myself to the point of overdose. This morning, I woke up at 5 a.m. like I would any other workday. I'm the manager of a medical cannabis dispensary in upstate New York, and I like to go to the gym before I start my day, or else I tend to lose the motivation to do so after my workday is over. The morning went much like any other, the only difference being that since we've entered into winter, it's been unbelievably cold lately, and my skin has been drying out because of it. While at the gym, at one point, the skin on my finger ended up cracking, and I began to bleed. Nothing crazy, but I happened to notice it as I was leaving. Once I got home, I hopped into the shower. When I got out, I had the bright idea to moisturize, which is something that I don't usually do. Because this is out of the norm for me, I don't usually have lotion in the house. However, a couple of weeks ago, one of the vendors for our dispensary sent bottles of their new THC lotion to the shop for our employees to try out. Not being a believer that lotion is the most effective way for me to medicate due to uncertainty about the ability of the medication to break the blood-brain barrier and get a precise dose every time, I have yet to use the lotion. Because I didn't particularly think a lotion could get anyone stoned, I liberally applied globs and globs of lotion across my entire body. We're talking close to half the bottle. After that, I got dressed and headed to work. As I started doing inventory and counting drawers, I did think I might actually start to feel a little high. Cool, I thought to myself. I don't usually medicate during the workday, but I'm not one to scoff at an incidental dose to help round the edges on my last workday of the week. As I continued my morning routine, I continued to notice myself become more and more stoned, to the point where I was starting to freak out a little bit. By the time I hit the peak of this experience, I had shut myself in my office, hoping to God nobody came in needing to speak to a manager or that I wouldn't need to make direct eye contact with any of my staff for the next couple of hours. When all was said and done, I made it through the experience, as well as a pre-scheduled monthly call with corporate, not too worse for wear. I did eat my lunch way too early, and I will have a tough time battling the lethargy one feels after getting way too high, but I stuck the landing the best I could. I now have a newfound respect for our topical products and a pretty funny screw-up to tell at holiday parties this year. 6. TIFU. By ignoring my seizure cat in training, I have 2 epilepsy service cats. Yes, cats, named Schrodinger and Angelina. They work alternating 12-hour shifts so they still get plenty of being a cat fun time. Not to mention they can still play at home as long as they do their job. I got Schrodinger much younger because Angie was a cancelled contract from the previous litter and is highly traumatized. They're siblings, so his training has progressed much faster and more effectively than Angelina's. This is why he works days, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., when Angie switches in. It's generally more uneventful at night, so it's better for a cat still learning. The one thing about Angie though, is that she's very intuitive. Anyway, 6 a.m. this morning. I'm midnight terror when suddenly a cat is clawing me awake. I assumed it was Schrodinger demanding food because Angelina has never progressed to the point of alerting physically before, so I mumbled various profanities and rolled over. Then she started meowing. This cat has never made a sound in her life. And headbutting me? At this point, it finally strikes me that the cat is actually responding to her training and alerting on me properly for the first time. Just in time for the world's biggest invisible wrecking ball to strike me in the head, my legs and arms to go numb, and for me to vomit all over myself, my hair, the cat, the bed, the floor, and the outside of the bag I was aiming for. My second cat, Schrodinger, immediately raced over and began licking Angie clean enthusiastically. It was so disgusting I threw up again. On Schrodinger this time. And poor Angie again. It was bad. I did not feel well. But good girl Angelina, many treats for you. 7. TIFU. Realizing my mute button wasn't muted during a 2-hour stakeholder meeting, this happened 2 hours ago, and I'm still hiding under my blanket. I was in a massive all-hands meeting, about 40 people, for a project launch. Usually, I keep my mic hard muted on my headset, but today I was eating lunch, so I was double muted. Software mute plus headset mute. Or so I thought. About 45 minutes in, the project manager was explaining a delay in the timeline. I, thinking I was safe in my cocoon of silence, let out a very loud, very deep sigh and muttered, "Oh my god, just get to the point, nobody cares." The audio didn't just pick it up. Because of the way Team Zoom prioritizes active speakers, my face popped up on the main screen for a split second. The silence was deafening. The PM paused for a solid 5 seconds. Nobody said anything. He just continued. I slowly reached up and tapped my headset. It beeped. Mute on. It had been off the whole time. I have not checked my Slack messages. I am considering faking my own death and moving to a farm. 8. TIFU. Holding hands with my friend. I was holding my friend's hand while we were walking in the mall, which was nothing new for us. My friend is legally blind and needs someone to guide him from time to time. especially in busy environments. However, holding my friend's hand unexpectedly attracted a random woman who approached us and said, "Gaying is a sin," before handing me a piece of paper with religious writing scribbled all over. My friend asked me to read what was on the piece of paper, so I read the first line that said, "Devil Satan is coming." Unlike me, my friend managed to laugh about the situation, which prompted the woman to tell us that her son was taken by the devil for gaying. My friend stopped laughing and asked the woman to explain how the devil took her son for gaying. The woman said she gave her son a choice, and he chose gaying for Satan instead of staying for Jesus. So he left and she never saw him again. Without any warning whatsoever, my friend gave me a quick but sloppy kiss on the mouth and said, "You heard the lady, the Dark Lord is coming. So we better hurry home and come before the devil does." As soon as my friend was done delivering that line and leaving me feeling even more confused, he squeezed my hand and pulled me away from the woman. I looked over my shoulder and noticed the woman was just watching us walk away without moving. My friend and I approached security and explained what happened. Security said they knew exactly who we were talking about and promised to act accordingly because it was not the first report they received regarding the same woman. When my friend and I were finally alone again, I was like, "What the fuck was with the kiss, bro?" For the record, my friend and I are both straight. My friend shrugged and said he improvised. Needless to say, it was weird for me to continue holding his hand post-gang, but you know what? I'll always be there to give him a hand if he needs one. 9. TIFU staring at a stranger. My friend and I went out for dinner, but as soon as we arrived at the restaurant, he disappeared to use the restroom, leaving me sitting alone for a few minutes. My eyes wandered, and I noticed another guy sitting alone. He looked familiar, but I struggled to figure out why, so I stared at him without realizing I was staring until he unexpectedly locked eyes with me, which automatically prompted me to look away. When I attempted to sneakily look back to see if he was still looking at me, he was on his way towards my table. The two of us awkwardly greeted each other before literally asking the same question. "Do I know you?" The answer was unclear. We shared our names, we shared the names of our friends, family, colleagues, exes, etc., but nothing brought us any closer to figuring out why our faces looked familiar. After failing to connect the dots, we decided to move on. Dude returned to his table after telling me that his date would be arriving soon. I eventually informed my friend of everything he missed with the hope that maybe my friend would recognize the guy and potentially solve the mystery. But alas, my friend was of no help at all. Fast forward to the guy reappearing at my table while my friend and I were eating. The guy said something hospital. I was confused. The guy noticed my confusion and said he was in the hospital bed next to mine. He said I was wearing a neck brace. I was beginning to remember, but before I could open my mouth, the guy provided another detail to refresh my memory. He said I was the guy who sprained my neck after attempting to suck my own dick. I said I remembered louder than I needed to. The guy said he remembered me being high on meds and feeling very proud of how close I came to touching the tip of my penis with the tip of my tongue. I looked at my friend's face at that moment and accepted the fact that I was fucking cooked. The secret I've managed to keep for over a year was out. The following day, everyone in my circle of friends knew that I almost broke my neck trying to go down on myself. The response has been exactly what you'd expect from a group of guys in their early 20s. Thanks, random stranger. 10. TIFU at an office party. Our company had its annual year-end function yesterday, and the theme was to dress up like your favorite TV character. I was going to dress up like a Squid Game soldier with a black mask and pink jumpsuit, but when I ordered the costume online and eventually tried it on at home, the mask was way too big and the jumpsuit was way too tight. So I decided to go with plan B, dress up like my boss. He wasn't a TV character, but he kind of acted like one. He always walks like he's a model at a runway fashion show, and he loves to literally point his finger at people before saying something cringe like, "Love your work, Joey, you were cook king." That presentation was fire. As someone with a father who's more or less my boss's age, hearing him unironically use Gen Z slang on a daily basis was something I had trouble getting used to during my first few weeks at work. Anyway, so I showed up at the year-end function dressed in a suit and tie, which was an easy last-minute solution to my Squid Game screw-up. Whenever someone asked me who I was dressed as, I would point my finger at them and drop a random line like, "You're the GOAT, Brian. But stay humble, fam. Ego is the enemy." I had enough lines like that to make it clear to everyone who I was, including our boss, who approached me at some point and joked that I reminded him of a younger version of himself. Cue laughing. Later that evening, the boss approached me again, but this time it was obvious based on his body language that he was no longer sober. He put his hand on the back of my neck and asked if I thought it was appropriate to make fun of the person who employed me. I said my intention was to have fun, not make fun, and then I apologized if I did anything inappropriate or offensive. My boss said it was a shame because he used to like me and then he just walked away without saying anything else. It was ominous as fuck. I was unable to stop thinking about that interaction for the rest of the night, so I decided to leave. I think I fucked up. I just don't know how bad yet. What is the most embarrassing thing you've ever said or done in public that you wish you could erase from history? Let me know in the comments.
Thanks for watching. If you got this far, leave a comment, like if you liked it, and follow for more.